National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation was released in 1989, and over the last 34 years, it's become a family favorite during the holiday season. Chevy Chase reprises his role as Clark W. Griswold for the third time in the franchise in hopes of delivering the perfect, good old-fashioned family Christmas. We'll break it down and find out if it's one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time, discuss some of the deeper meanings in the film, and reveal some trivia, including an accident on set that you might not know about. So National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation it's a
Christmas
favorite
movie.
It's a favorite Christmas movie. It's considered a classic, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I tried to get as much Clark Griswoldy as I can today. I got my Bears hat, my Blackhawks jersey. I even got my Marty Moose eggnog mug.
Very nice. You didn't put eggnog in it, though?
No, I don't like eggnog, so I don't. So we're going to discuss this today. Guys, your first time you saw this movie, do you remember the first time you saw it?
Yes. I actually didn't see it until I'd seen clips of it on TV, but I mean, it was 2017 when I saw it.
Wow.
I made it past 30 without ever seeing this movie.
Wow.
Of course, everybody's talking about it every year. Oh, we got to watch this movie. And so I had a friend who watches it every year. And finally he was like, look, you guys are coming over. We're going to watch it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure I understood it the first time. Now, looking back, like I know what to expect, but yeah, I guess we'll talk about that as we go on. My reactions.
I don't remember when I first saw it. I know I saw it young, but for some reason, the first memory I have of this is thinking that weirdly hot girl from Natural Born Killers is in this.
Yeah.
And so I must have seen that first, maybe? Or maybe I did see it and I just don't remember. I mean, I was 14?
Yeah.
13, so.
Is she the girl who gets out of the pool?
No, she's the main killer.
Yeah.
In
She was in Cape Fear.
Natural Born
I mean,
Killer.
who is she in this movie?
Audrey.
Oh, the daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, she's like supposed to be a high school kid, but like 2 years later, I want to say Natural Born Killers, that came out in like 91, 92, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that late. So, you know, she transitioned from like a 16-year-old to this. Yeah, it was a weird transition, but yeah, I saw it right around when it came out. I don't know if I went to the theaters to see it, but I've seen it many times over the years.
Yeah, I actually saw it in the theaters with my mom, my dad, and my sister. And I thought, I remember the scene where he goes sledding and he's putting the oil on the bottom of his sled because he's going to set a land speed record. And he takes off and it's just like a flame. he's going through snow
Total
drifts.
reality.
Yeah, I remember laughing so hard, and I was 10. So that was like the funniest thing I'd ever seen in a movie at that point. I was just cackling in the theater laughing so hard at that. But it's become a favorite. We watch that every year. It's got so many little quotes in the movie that we constantly quote. I had Cousin Eddie hat one year. I got that for my birthday as a joke gift. I had that on, but it's just, I personally, I mean, it's a classic. And if I had to pick one of my favorite holiday films, Christmas Vacation is right up there. It's absolutely brilliantly done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it goes along with the Vacation series. There were 4 of them if you don't count that weird Uncle Eddie.
Oh, that was 5 if you count.
spin-off.
Yeah. If you don't count Christmas Vacation 2, Uncle Eddie's Island, Cousin Eddie's Island.
I never saw it. I don't know. But yeah, the National Lampoon's vacation movies, you know, the first one was just Vacation, and then European, Christmas, and then Vegas. It's always that same type of humor, but for some reason, Chevy Chase, whenever he does it, it's just funny.
Yeah.
You know, it is not like a continuing story or anything. I mean, these, you know, the first movie and the last movie take place like 16 years apart, and the kids are still the same age. So, you know, it's not like the story's progressing or anything like that. It's just, here's, you know, mom and dad, you got the 2 kids, and they change every movie, but mom and dad are still there, and Uncle Eddie shows up no matter where they're at. Well, wait, was he in part 2?
He wasn't in 2, but he was in the
Okay,
first
that's
one.
right.
They
Yeah.
stopped by his farm, and you could just tell
Yeah.
that Clark.
He had a small part in the first
Yeah.
one, but then by the time Christmas Vacation hit, he was like a mainstay.
Yeah.
So the moral
And
is you can't escape your weird family.
no. And Clark absolutely despises Eddie. Like, he just despises this guy. He's
Can I drop you off on an island somewhere or to die?
Yeah, can I drop you out in the middle of nowhere, leave you for dead? You know, he wakes up one morning, he's looking out the window, and Eddie's out there cleaning out the septic tank of his RV into the.
Oh, yeah, classic line, which we won't say here, but
It's like, so, you know, the whole premise of this is Clark wants to put on this. He always has wanted a family Christmas at his house, and he's going to invite his mom and dad. He's got his wife Ellen's mom and dad. He's got aunts and uncles coming over. Cousins are coming over. And they're going to do this in the house. And this is his goal. And of course, when everybody shows up, it's just nothing but bickering and fighting. And I think that's why Clark spends half the time outside rigging up lights on his house so he doesn't have to be in the house. So, I mean, if anybody's ever had like a huge family Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, I think there's some very relatable situations that we see with Clark that I think we've all kind of been through where it's like, I got to get out of here. I'm going to go nuts if I don't get out of here.
yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I don't enjoy my family being over, but there's just times.
Oh, of course. There's always going to be times.
It's almost like he's longing to have this great family Christmas, but he doesn't really have the family to do that with, at least not without all the messy stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting that he's pursuing this goal when maybe he doesn't really like all of his family. So I almost wondered, is this supposed to be some kind of like healing experience for him, or is this his way of like trying to fix family problems? I don't know.
I think it's just, I feel like he had a good upbringing. You know, you can tell in this Christmas Vacation, in this movie, he's real close with his dad and his mom. And I think that's just how he grew up was you spend Christmas with your entire family. You know, that's just the way it is. And that's what he wanted to do. And although times have changed and, you know, things like that, it's still something that is very important to him. And, you know, I mean, I know it's a complete, I was going to save this to the end, but I'm going to throw it in now. We'll talk more about it at the end, but Clark is such a good guy.
Yeah.
He, you know, and this is with every single movie, all 4 movies, all it is, he just wants to spend time with his family. He may not be making the right decisions or, you know, screw something up, make the wrong turn, whatever the case. His goal is to have a good time, spend time with his family, the 4 of them together, doing things together, having fun, being happy. And it's such a funny movie that you don't really think about that.
Mhm.
The fact that the most important thing to him is to spend time with his family. And that's, you know, right off the bat, going in. I mean, that's such a huge message, and the hell he goes through to try to give his family the perfect Christmas. And yeah, it's easy to laugh at something like that, but if you really take a second, it's like that's important because I think a lot of people forget about that.
Yeah.
What's funny is that he wants to spend time with his family for the holidays, but it's hard to spend time with his family because of those like things that just eat at you.
Yeah.
So it's like he's trying to force it, and almost from a distance at times. I think that's relatable though. Like he's trying his best, but it's really hard. It's almost like he's you know, a motto of the movie almost could be like, just make it work. Like it's not working, but he's like trying to force the pieces together.
Yeah, and that character has a history of doing that. He, like Doug said, his heart is always in the right place. He's always, you know, he's a good guy. He's got a big heart, and he wants to do whatever he can for his family. But he goes overboard and doesn't really plan things out really well. So, like, I mean, even in the first one, you know, they drive cross country to go to Wally World, and they get there and it's closed. But all he wanted to do is have his family have some fun at Wally World. So what's he do? He goes and rents a BB gun and takes a security guard hostage, and they take over the park. Just because this means everything to my family, and this is what I'm going to do. So in this one, that's his idea again, is just to have that family together. But then when his in-laws show up and they start bickering with his parents about little who gets the right parking space and who's sleeping here and who's doing this, and it's just like, then he strings up the lights on the house and the lights don't work, and he can't figure it out, and his Christmas tree gets burnt to pieces because
explodes.
His uncle lights a stogie and sets his tree on fire, and the cat gets electrocuted for eating the Christmas lights.
That's almost the thing with the National Lampoon vacation movies. You got to kill an animal.
Yeah, they killed Dinkins the dog in the first one, but it's just like, and he just keeps trucking and he keeps trying, and at one point, the family's all packing up and ready to leave, and he stops them at the door and says, "Nope, no one's leaving. We are in this together, and we are going to press on, and we are going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby danced with Danny Kaye."
White Christmas.
Yep. So he was not about to give up on this dream, and it was going to, it was going to happen regardless.
He's like, "You will love me."
Oh yeah.
And the cool thing is they pepper it throughout the movie. The entire time he's planning on getting this huge bonus.
Yeah.
A Christmas bonus for the end of the year, because he's already put down money to have a pool built so he can bring everyone in and they can have a summer vacation at his pool, which might have been a good spinoff for this movie. Yeah, just all this craziness happens throughout the movie, but they keep throwing that in. We'll come to that as we get to the end. There is a touching part when we talk about family, where Clark's up in the attic trying to get some stuff, and he end up locking him in the attic and leave. So now he's trapped in the attic, freezing to death, while everyone's at the mall for a few hours, and he's going through and he finds a projector and starts watching all these old home videos of when he was a kid. And it's a really touching moment. And of course, it takes a beat and then comedy hits again. But again, when it comes to just remembering the times you spent with your family, some of them may not be here much longer. Some of them may have already gone. Those memories that you can cherish at this time of year is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the main reason I brought that up is this disappointing stat. As Clark was up there watching himself as a kid at Christmas, if they were to remake that movie today, the father would be watching videos from 1989 when this movie came out.
Oh, so it was 1959, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. We're getting old. And also, speaking of the heart, also is this shows the kind of guy that Clark is. As much as he despises Eddie, he's out shopping with him, and Eddie's just loading up this grocery cart with big bags of dog food. Just like every bag of dog food he finds, he just picks it up, throws it in the car. And they realize that Eddie has been out of a job for 7 years at this point because he's holding out for a management position. But, so he has no money. He finds out that he sold his farm and he's got the RV, and that's what they live out of. So Clark says, "You know what? Well, we want to help you get your kids a good Christmas. So give us a list of the stuff that, they want, and we'll go out and get it." Of course, Eddie has a list already pre-made, like, "Oh, well, here you go." But just to show that as much as he gets irritated by Eddie, he's still family, and he still has that soft spot to do what's right for his family instead of just writing them off. So he helps get the kids a good Christmas. Because I think in one scene, one of Eddie's daughters comes in and said, like, Santa Claus never comes to our house. We haven't had gifts in a couple of years. We're good, and we get nothing. So, that touches on him too. He really wants to go out of his way to do what's right for everybody. So he's a good guy.
Yeah. You mentioned that scene, and it brings me back. A big thing with all of the movies, but Chevy Chase is just perfect at that very, very subtle humor that you see for a second, and if you don't catch it, you don't laugh. But if you do, it's hilarious. Like Drew was mentioning, Eddie's putting these big bags of dog food into the cart, and then Clark reaches over and grabs some light bulbs and puts it down just as Eddie throws the biggest bag.
I never caught that.
And he doesn't flinch. He's just like, psh, and just keeps on walking. The movies, there's tons of that where they're pulling out the lights, and so many things you can say, and he just picks it up and he's like, "Oh, little nut there. You work on that, Russ." That little line right there. Yeah, it's just a huge ball of intertwined lights. Oh, little nut there. Just little lines like that. Just that little subtle humor. Well, that's basically my kind of humor, because that's Bill Murray's humor.
Yeah.
Bill Murray doesn't need to go big. He can go big, and he's hilarious when he goes big, but he's the only guy who can go and make me laugh. Mm-hmm. All he has to do is tilt his head, but the face he makes is just perfect for that scene.
Yeah.
And Chevy Chase has that humor too when it comes to vacation movies. Fletch. I'm trying to think of.
Funny Farm is another one of my favorites. Three Amigos.
Yeah, it's just that's that kind of humor.
Yeah.
That kind of humor always lasts. Yeah. No matter what.
His delivery when he first, Eddie and him are in there drinking eggnog. Of course, I love the fact that Eddie is wearing this like really thin white sweater with the green dickie underneath it, and you can see the outline of the dickie. But Eddie's like, "Are you surprised?" And Clark, just the way he delivers that line, "Eddie, I could wake up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet. I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now." Just the way he delivers these lines is just fantastic. So nobody else could play that character than Chevy Chase. I mean, it's just outstanding. So, but
and they're gonna try. They've already tried once.
But they did that Vacation sequel with Ed Helms.
Yeah,
and he plays actually Rusty.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna go on a vacation like he did with his family.
Yeah.
So it's a continuation, but it's also kind of a remake of the original. And they make a comment about that. Talk about a reboot. What's a reboot? It's a reboot. It's when they redo a movie that someone's already done. So we're rebooting this vacation. No, we're not rebooting this vacation. We're just remaking the vacation, is what they're saying. But I
think that movie was any good? I didn't see it.
It was all right. The only
thing I remember from it was Thor was in it, and they just kept talking about how big his wang was.
Yeah, it was okay.
It's a different type of humor, though. See,
yes.
That's I'm afraid that this type of humor is disappearing. You don't see this type of subtle, just good humor.
Mm.
Which reminds me, I always forget what's the Steve Martin short TV Netflix show or whatever. Murders in the Building. Only Murders in the Building. Do you watch that?
I've watched all 3 seasons, and it's fantastic.
Okay, see, is it a smart comedy like that?
Very smart.
That kind of. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Then I gotta pick that up because
it's not. Yeah, it's not
2/3 of the Three Amigos.
Yeah, and
so
it's not slapstick. It's very smart. They're bickering back and forth, and just some of the little comments that they make is what makes it hilarious. So yeah, it's definitely something I think you would like. But so the next question is: this is we say this is a classic movie. So would you agree? I mean, what makes this a classic?
That it's able to be shown every year and people watch it. I mean, you don't see Air Bud Saves Christmas every 3 days on TV during this year. You probably don't see it at all. I don't know if it's even a movie. I probably made it up. But there are so many Christmas movies that, especially with Hallmark knocking out like 16 a week during December, that they could play Christmas movies 24/7 on a channel and start at midnight on December 1st and end on New Year's Eve at 11:59. They wouldn't have to play the same one twice because there's so many out there. But they continue to play National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation every year, multiple times on multiple different channels. You pull up Amazon Prime now, and that's going to be one of the first 5 movies that pops up. Try this one because it is a classic Christmas movie that can and will stand the test of time. I mean, it
Mhm.
already has. I mean, what are we, 35 years out? Anyway, I digress. That's what makes that a classic, is the fact that it will be shown every year and probably long after we're gone. I mean, there are movies. It's a Wonderful Life. We did Going My Way. White Christmas always plays a lot during this time of year. What are some other classic? Miracle on
34th
34th
Street,
Street. The
Christmas
original
Story.
and the remake were actually both really good.
Mhm.
Christmas Story that came out in the 80s. That's going to be playing forever. I mean, there's stations that play that 24/7 sometimes just because people will watch it.
Over.
I've watched it twice in a row before.
I have
I
to.
literally it was, anyway, that's what makes this a classic, is the fact that it will be shown for years and who knows, maybe forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that funny.
Yeah.
It is that funny.
And it does end despite all the disasters that's happening in this house. I mean, his house gets completely ransacked. He's got SWAT teams flying through the window because Eddie went off and kidnapped his boss.
We should probably talk about that.
Okay,
why
so
he kidnapped his boss.
Yeah, so instead of getting a bonus check to put down money for this pool, he gets enrolled in the Jelly of the Month Club.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
That it is, Edward. And Clark goes on a little rant, and he says how much he'd love to have his boss
Another
right
great
here.
rant.
Yeah, which I can never get all the way through that one, but it's just calling his boss names, and Eddie takes off and kidnaps the boss.
But again,
and brings him back.
It's a great scene because it's Eddie making up for everything that Clark's doing for him. Throughout the movie, Clark's helping him out. He's letting him stay at his house. He's feeding him. He's buying presents for his kids and his wife and everything like that. And as Drew said, he goes through this rant and he's like, I want my boss here with a bow wrapped around him, and says some other things or whatever. And it cuts to Eddie and you just see him sitting there like, And then all of a sudden the RV goes driving away. And he kidnaps he kidnaps his boss because that's what Clark wanted. And Clark's my brother. Even if it's through family, Clark's my brother. And I'm going to do whatever I can to get him what he wants, because he did whatever he could to get me what I needed.
Yep.
So again, it's pure comedy and pure craziness that would never happen, but it's very touching if you really look at the message at it.
Right.
Behind it.
Yeah. So when he brings the boss in and he tells him, like, this was like a punch in the gut. We're all expecting this checks, and you give us this jelly club. And the guy's, the boss's wife shows up and she basically gets on him a case like, you didn't cut bonuses, did you? And that cop is there, sir, if I wasn't in uniform, I'd beat you with a rubber hose. So like,
I don't know. He was just kidnapped, and of course his wife shows up to the crime scene because why wouldn't she?
Yeah.
And they're just having this big long conversation.
So he reinstates the bonuses, and everyone, I mean, and the rest of his family is starting to stand up for Clark at that point too. You see his father-in-law, who he doesn't really get along with, is starting to stand up for him, and they end up getting the bonuses, and everyone's happy and dancing, and they go out into the yard, and Uncle Lewis lights a cigar and he throws it in the sewer, and he basically blows everybody up. But it ends with him standing out in the front yard, and his last words are like, I did it. Like, hey, I got through Christmas and I did this, what I always wanted to do. Didn't go exactly as planned, but he got it done. So nice little moment at the end of the film. Everything worked out fine.
Yes.
Probably some insurance claims after that, but
a couple, I don't know where they're going to sleep. They're going to have to go to a hotel. Every window in their house has been smashed open, and they're in Chicago on Christmas Eve. It's cold. Trust me.
Very cold. Yeah.
No, my wife and I looked at a house this summer that had been foreclosed, and I looked at it and I was like, what happened to this house? Some windows were smashed in, a balcony door. Now I know.
He held a family Christmas.
Yep. Well, you asked what makes this movie a classic. I thought it was interesting that I read that it was kind of received with mixed reviews at the time that it came out. But like watching it, recently, it really taps into the feel of an 80s movie. Like it just captures that era very well. But he also tapped into something that I think everybody can relate to because we talked about like I love my family. I don't feel like I have anyone in the family like an Eddie that I just tolerate. But most people do. And I think at the time that I watched this for the first time a few years ago, I didn't appreciate it as much because I was going through some difficult family stuff, and I couldn't see maybe what Clark was trying to do through the difficulty. Instead, I just for a period of time in my life, I had trouble seeing families fight on screen
Mm.
because of what I was going through. But now, like I can see like, oh, everybody has difficult times with their families, and here's Clark trying to just bulldoze through that and make something good happen, even if he doesn't go about it the right way, or even at times he's almost like detached from reality. Like you see his face and like the way he's almost
Yeah.
manic. It's like he's not really there. It's like he's in a fantasy land and everything around him is burning. But I think most people understand that, and they understand that when you put a bunch of people in a room together who have to be close or who live together, like things happen, people butt heads. And so since we always find the spiritual themes in movies, I think in this it's probably about like trying to care for people who are maybe difficult sometimes, or
Mm.
trying to love people through a difficult situation, or maybe even Eddie, like trying to do something loving but something the completely wrong way. But
Yeah.
we have good intentions, but we kind of
You
don't
just,
take the right route sometimes.
yeah.
So
You just,
there's something in this movie that is timeless, that everyone understands, even if people watch it and they're like, "What's a phone?" and "What is this? What is that?" You know?
well, you have to see through differences. It's just sometimes you're gonna, yeah, like you said, you're gonna butt heads, you're gonna disagree, but you still have to see through those differences, and your family, and that's the important thing. So you have to stick by them. You pick them up when they fall, and and support regardless of any differences you have. You can't hold the grudges. You have to, you just have to let it go and keep in mind what's really important.
And again, I'll go back. You keep talking about why this is a classic. Whoever the casting director was in this movie was good. This person had talent. Obviously, you get the original too with Terry Garr, and not Terry Garr, but Beverly
Beverly D'Angelo.
D'Angelo and Chevy Chase. But the kids are different. So they have tryouts and auditions, blah, 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 and they just pick these two random kids who, to this day, are both very well and known actors. I mean, Rusty is, what's his name from
Big
uh,
Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory? Thank you.
Yeah, he was on Roseanne
Juliet,
for a long time.
yeah, Juliette Lewis has been doing movies since then. She's still relevant today and been doing a lot of TV and stuff like that. The in-laws, those are all four of them were great comedic actors
Oh yeah,
in their time, all the way up until I think they've all passed by now. But they were all doing comedy all through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
yeah,
Same with the aunt and uncle who came in. Both of them were very big comedic actors, and just, and you could tell too because everything was so natural. They're like, would you like Aunt? I can't think of her name. Aunt something. Would you like to say the prayer? And she bows her head. I pledge allegiance to the flag. I mean, it's just so random and so funny, and the way she says it and so
Aunt
effortless.
Bethany.
It's just, and then it's like, oh, we need some antagonists in here. We need some bad guys. Let's see this woman over here. She was in that movie Troll for a little bit. Let's get her. That was Julia Louis Dreyfus, who was
Yep.
won like 500 Emmys.
Yeah.
When she started with Seinfeld and then some other vice president movie, and now she's in something else. And it's like the casting director just picked the perfect people for all of these
Yeah.
roles.
Mae Questel played Aunt Bethany.
There you go.
And you might not know the name, but have you ever heard of the comic strip character Betty Boop? She was the
I
original.
have, because I'm old.
Okay, she was the original voice of Betty Boop.
Oh wow.
Boop boop doop doop.
Right.
Something like that.
She was. Yep.
Yeah, most people watching this haven't heard it.
Probably have no idea. E.G. Marshall played Arthur Smith. That was Ellen's dad, and he's actually in one of my favorite films, 12 Angry Men. That's how I know him from that. But
The
original 12 Angry Men. But yeah, they went out and got some names in this, and
yeah, so some strong actors at the time, but they brought in some young people too. And I mean, I know Julie Louis-Dreyfus and the Big Bang guy both have won Emmys. I'm sure Juliette Louis-Dreyfus
for Seinfeld,
not Julia, but Juliette Lewis has won some awards here too. So you know, 3 of these younger actors that they just pulled out of of some small stuff they've been doing blew up to huge actors. So yeah, kudos on the casting on that one, because the only person other than Uncle Eddie's family is the guy neighbor. I don't know if I've seen him in a lot of stuff, but everyone else 100%.
Yeah,
there is some funny things that they did with the comedy too. There's the scene where Clark's driving his family in the station wagon, and he drives under a semi carrying logs in the trailer bed, and they get stuck under there, and they're still driving along full speed, and he can't get out. So his wife starts praying, and she says, "Forgive my husband, Father, for he doesn't know what he does here. He knows not what." I forget how they phrase it.
Forgive my husband, he knows not what he does.
Not what he does. Yep.
Yeah. So that is actually a quote from, like, Jesus is praying on the cross for the people who are killing him, and he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." So it's a pretty dark prayer, and they take that, and the way they applied it in that scene is kind of funny. It's something creative. Like, most people probably during that time period knew where that came from, and probably got a chuckle out of that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me about the Clark. Apparently, Chevy Chase broke his finger in a scene in this movie, right, while they were filming.
I believe so. I think it was when he's trying to set up these lights, and he's plugging them in, and he can't get them to turn on, and he can't figure out what's going on. Ellen goes in, she flips on a light switch, and all the lights just bright up. So he's screaming for everybody to come out into the house. Come out and look at the lights. And then Ellen's still inside, and she flips the switch back off. The lights go off. The family comes out. He's out there like, what? Why isn't this working? So then he runs over, and he's got these plastic reindeer and Santa, and he's just drop kicking them, punching them, chopping off all the antlers. And I think during that scene when he was punching the plastic Santa, I think he broke his fingers during the filming of that. So, and then eventually Ellen clicks with her that, oh, that light switch. She flips the light switch back on, and the lights are on. So, but yeah, he basically goes nuts and takes his frustration out on the plastic Santa and reindeer. So
well, that's fun. I wonder if they use that take, because maybe that would add to the scene a little realism.
I would say that he probably broke a finger. He wouldn't be doing it again. So I don't know how many takes they took of that, but yeah.
Another kind of cool fact was they actually wrote in an emotional scene in the movie between Rusty and his dad. And it's kind of cool because I was reading this, Johnny Galecki at the time, who was probably, I think he's my age, so he's probably around 13, 14, 15 years old. They were getting ready to shoot it, and he looked at the director and he's like, "You realize this isn't going to make it into the movie, right?" He's like, "This movie is constant funny. They don't want to break it down for 5 minutes and watch us cry and then come back. You want to save all the emotions to the end. We shouldn't shoot this scene. I think this is a waste of time." And the director looked at the kid and was like, "Yeah, you're probably right. Let's move on."
No kidding.
So Galecki basically cut a scene from this movie as a teenager because he's like, this isn't going to make it into the movie. This is an awful scene.
So
We
why are we
shouldn't
doing
be
this?
Prodigy,
shooting this.
man.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's insight that a kid probably normally wouldn't have.
Mhm.
Yeah. One thing that always bothered me about this at the beginning when they're getting their Christmas tree is, they're in Chicago and they're driving
Where did they
around.
drive to? There is nothing around there that has that.
Mountains. You got all these mountains in the background, and I'm like, look, I grew up in Illinois. I have been to Chicago many times. There are no mountains.
Yeah, they'd have to go to Canada,
Yeah,
West Virginia, or all the way down to maybe there's some big hills in southern Illinois that they
maybe
might be able
not
to,
like that, but
yeah.
they filmed that in Colorado actually, and then the house was on the Warner Brothers lot. They had to fake snow and all that stuff for them to be able to film on that lot. I think the house is still part of like the backlot tour. Yeah, this like from the moment I remember seeing it, going, that's not Illinois. Where are they?
That's funny.
So you guys got anything else?
It was one of only 2 movies that year that came out in '89 that was a Christmas movie.
What was the other one?
It was John Hancock's Prancer, which I haven't seen.
Prince.
My mom
I
used to
remember
watch that.
seeing the VHS tape at Blockbuster. But
Yeah, I remember hearing that movie, but I've never seen it.
Only 2 in a year. I
was a
guess I
bad year for
forgot how
Christmas
few
films.
movies came out.
well,
at
keep
that
in mind,
time.
and this is '89. There wasn't 19,000 channels where they had to knock out 45 Christmas movies a year just so they can fill up the material.
Yeah,
But that
You
was
had ABC, CBS, NBC, a
Fox.
couple, HBO show was Foxy. Yeah, Fox
Fox
just
was still
started
around.
to show up. MTV, it wasn't.
Yeah.
There were maybe 15 channels, not what
Yeah.
they had now. But
Didn't have all the streaming stuff, so
and also Juliette Lewis is older than Johnny Galecki, but
she played the younger
Johnny
sister.
Galecki's brother was older than the sister. Yeah.
Yeah, Rusty's older than Audrey, I
Mhm.
think.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just, and that's what makes some of these vacation movies funny too, is that the kids change every single movie. It's like, and it's just kind of a running thing. But well, anyway, that was Christmas Vacation. Highly recommended if you have not seen it. If you have not seen it in the 34 years since it's been released, I don't know what you're waiting on.
Gotta watch it. It holds up.
It does.
That's the thing.
It does. So, matter of fact, I think I'm going to get ready to go watch it maybe tomorrow. Not tonight. But
Well, listeners, if you want to get one of those moose mugs, you want to hold that up real quick?
yeah, Moose Mug.
I'm going to put a link in the description so you can get yourself one of those.
Put eggnog in it so you can be
Yeah,
like the real movie.
eggnog's horrible.
Good
Well, anyway,
choice.
yeah. So anyway, if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll be on the lookout for some of our other videos. We've done a whole bunch of these, ranging from horror, comedy, drama, action, and pretty soon here we will have a special video coming up. Hopefully you'll stick around for that one and watch it, because we had to suffer through it, and we think you should too.
And our editor had to suffer through it.
Yes, so
And
please
it's a Christmas
hit,
movie.
hit the like and subscribe button. Check out the video, and
So
we
bad
will.
it's not good.
It's so bad it's not good. And we'll talk to you later. Thank you for watching.
See you.